Hello, Central New York, and hello, hockey fans all across the internet, and welcome to the Central New York Hockey Report podcast. I'm your host, Scott Kinville, and we have got an awesome show lined up tonight because, you know, we talk about local teams and we talk a lot about X's and O's and action and all that. This is a story that really tugs at your heart, and I can't wait to get started with it. Before we bring our guest in, of course, as usual, I'll bring my co-host in naturally. Sitting right next to me here on my right side, the madman of the keyboard over there, as we like to call him. It's Dave the Save Warner. How are you, pal?
Something like that. Doing great. How you doing tonight, Scott?
Good. You know,
awesome.
Like I said, warm weather.
Yeah, I know. It was nice out today. It's beautiful.
It was.
Clear skies.
Absolutely.
Not mid-November.
No.
Upstate New York.
We'll probably pay for that next week.
You will. Yeah.
And, of course, coming to us live via satellite from Utica University is our other co-host, Mr. Jordan Brockway. Jordy, what's going on?
Nothing much. Just got back from a little run down at the gym, so I'm tired.
Oh, I bet.
Poor baby.
Bet. Well, I hope you can stay awake through the show.
Yeah.
No, I will.
Okay. All right. So, listen, I am going to bring our guest in here. A few months back, I wrote a story on an article about, it was called Colgate Alumnus Honors Legendary Hockey Coach by Giving Back. And this is just such a great story about how a tragic event turned into a foundation that's helped hockey players ever since it was formed. And I want to bring the executive director of this organization in because, like I said, I've developed a nice little relationship with him. We text back and forth quite a bit. And it's my pleasure to bring in Mr. Eric Opin. Eric, how are you?
I'm great, Scott, David, Jordy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And, we were just talking a little bit before we came on. You're on the road right now.
Yeah, it's like anybody else. We have work and family obligations, and happy to squeeze in a little time with you guys in between everything.
Well, I can't begin to tell you how much we appreciate you taking the time to do that because, like I said, I've been wanting to tell this story on this show for such a long time. So let's start right from the beginning. Now, I said you're an alumnus of Colgate University. You said you graduated in 1990, correct?
Correct. I graduated in 1990. It was a great fit for me growing up in Central Connecticut in a public high school and had a great, wonderful 4 years academically. Obviously Colgate's academic speaks for itself. Graduated in 1990 with a degree in history and economics. And as part of that, I was a self-progressed hockey rink rat. I wasn't much of a hockey player, but I had a passion for the game and, got to know the guys we went to school with and got to connect particularly with the late Terry Slater and Brian DeRocher and, had the opportunity to work with them our senior year. And everybody knows what happened in 1990. So
yeah, absolutely.
That was really something, even though it's 32 years later, people still talk about it and we think about it all the time. So it's a little bit of part of who we are and, really so much of Colgate an awful lot. So much of my life really started there.
Yeah, absolutely. That 1990 team darn near won the whole enchilada. But so tell us how you were involved with the team.
Well, I was a student assistant. Terry Slater and I talked about a possible need for, some backup, probably the pre-game. We did a lot of pre-game scouting of our opponents and probably the early curse of the analytics where we would chart face-offs. I would sit in the box. We would chart and match and do line changes, adjustments, and provide input when needed. And, it was just an unbelievable experience. It was like going to class every day with Terry Bryan and Lou Mongeluzzo as well. So it's just sort of what you would call maybe the modern-day director of hockey ops.
Nice. And, I'm sure that was because I was in high school at that time. That was before computers were getting big time. So a lot of pen and paper there, I would imagine.
Oh, it was abacus, actually. It was all pen and paper and, very little of that. And it was a lot of thinking and, really taking, much more notes and a lot of broken pencils in the press box. Sometimes too much writing or sometimes when you were unhappy. So, but like everybody else said, we had a real desire to win, and things really worked out on a basis again that we've talked about that no one ever expected. And the best part of that the experience is it happened. You can't buy something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You truly can't. So after you graduated from Colgate, you wound up returning back to Connecticut. And out in Connecticut, there is a legendary prep school called Avon Old Farms. Everybody who knows hockey has heard of this place. And you got to meet one of the legendary coaches from that area.
Yeah, it was the late Jason Pagni. Jason and I, it was a second career for me in the early 2000s, and went to law school, graduated, and, had some people that I knew up at Avon Old Farms, but Jason was a local guy who was putting together prep showcases, coaching these brick tournaments, and mentoring guys to, advocate for them at the prep and the NCAA level, and, players that he grew up coaching, including Kevin Shattenkirk, Cam Atkinson, Marty St. Louis kids, Pierre McGuire's son, Jonathan Quick. These are names that are household names now, all these years later. So they were all influenced by Jason, whether he would take them to tournaments or advocate for them, junior programs, college programs. He just gathered he was a unique character in that he was able to hockey, as I said, there's a lot of what I call dysfunctional hubs, and Jason was the master at pulling all those hubs together. He really was a guy that was a point of contact, and got to be his attorney for a dozen years and did a lot of things, and he was a real character on top of it. He had a lot of mischief to him. He he did some things that what stays there stays there, if you know what I mean.
Sure,
and
sure.
It was just as my staff said, he was one of the calls when I got it in on my cell. I knew I would get an entertaining call. I never knew what to expect, and that was the fun part about it.
Well, see, there you go. He kept you on your toes.
Oh, tell me on my toes. We had a nickname for him, and this is my favorite Jason story. He was driving me crazy, and I said, I'm going to call your nickname is Nero. And he goes, why is that? And he was old school. If you had a nickname, you were in his club, and he had a nickname for me. But I said, you're like Nero. And he said, who's Nero? And he said to me, who's Nero? And I told him, well, he was the guy in Rome that every Rome burned and everybody was in panic around him. And he looked at me with a dead face and he said, I really like it. I'm going to keep that nickname.
It puts a whole new spin on history. That's a
and he had other nicknames for people, including a player agent who was very chiseled. He had a chiseled face, and he called him the Egyptian because he looked like a face of the pyramids. So, there was some wacky stuff that everybody would just sit there. But if you knew he was in the ring, you knew he was in there. Sometimes you had to find him. Sometimes you didn't. He would drive you crazy. But the bottom line is he was for the players and the parents. And, he was not in it for himself. He was looking to do this the right way. And that was the fun part.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And just the people's lives that he touched is just unbelievable. I looking at the article that I had written there. I mean, it's all in here too, but just the people that he touched is unreal. And it was a tragic accident, January 31st of 2014. He was only 43 years old, and he passed away in a car accident.
Yeah, I got a call from one of my very close friends, Bill Maniscalco, and he had the unfortunate, and it just was a day. CJ Maritola was the head coach at Sacred Heart. Basically, was there all day. He told his assistants, I said, maybe I'll be there for the drop of the puck. But it just, wife, 2 young daughters. He made dreams come true, and that light. Unfortunately, he's gone, and people still talk about him. We'll get into it. It's been nearly 10 years, but we're still gathering together on a consistent basis. So he hasn't been forgotten, and it's not the foundation per se. It's the people around him who knew him, even as high as the NHL level. I mean, the stories you get and the passion and the support we've gotten has been, it's just certainly exceeded everybody's wildest dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of the foundation, tell us how that all got started.
Well, a lot of the credit, again, goes to our great friend C.J. Maratolo at Sacred Heart. He originally put the concept together. That Jason was a prep school guy. He was an Avon guy, as you guys correctly pointed out. And he approached Mike Cavanaugh, who was then the second-year coach at UConn, and he said, let's play a game for the benefit of us. Let's move our NCAA game from they were playing a community rink. Let's move it to a prep school in honor of Jason. Let's raise some money for his daughter's education fund. And that's how the first two games got together. And we sold the rinks out both nights. And it was just, between the two nights, we raised, 2014, we had Sacred Heart and UConn. And then next year was the fledgling Arizona State Sun Devils came into play a game. And we ended up raising $25,000 for the daughter's college education fund.
Wow.
And we were really feeling good about the game and the buzz and there was just a lot of emotion about the whole ceremony and the way things worked and people that came. And we kind of bantered the idea of, they kind of looked at me and kind of looked at each other and said, what do we do to continue this? And, kind of just came to the idea of, hey, let's try a foundation. Let's see what we can do. It's going to take some time. But the reason the foundation was put in place was we wanted to do something in Jason's memory on what we call a sustained basis. We didn't want to be a flash in the pan organization. We wanted to continue this as long as possible. And, we're certainly getting there. And, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of love, a lot of persistence. And, we're getting there. There's no question about it. And, the fact that we're continuing to do this nearly 9 years later speaks to what people thought about Jason Pagni and his family.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. So tell me, what are some of the things outside of funding Coach Pagni's daughter's college education funds that the foundation has done?
Well, we started slowly in 2016. We've awarded $9,500 in grants, and we've honored minor hockey players. One young boy who was the Phantom level B player had missed a year of hockey because of serious medical issues, and he required refits, and it took a lot out of the family's resources. So we funded a full season of youth hockey for that child. There was a outstanding scholar athlete at a prep school who showed some substantial financial aid needs, so we underwrote her. There was a really interesting family that came to us that first-generation immigrants, two young children's father's a disabled veteran, mom's a homemaker. We funded their learn to skate programs. There's a public high school showcase that was all volunteer-based. We helped underwrite a sponsorship for last year. So that's how we've done it, and we want to continue. Obviously, coming up December 1st is going to make those things become much more of a reality for all of us, and that's the exciting part.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you're not the only one on the board. You are the executive director, but who are some of the other members of the board with you?
Well, all of them have great connections to Jason Pagni or the Pagni family. So it includes, we talked about C.J. Maratolo, Mike Pereira, Joe and Mike Pereira, the Pereira brothers, one's at BU and one's an assistant at UConn. They were greatly influenced by Jason as a youth hockey player. John Gardner, who's a legendary prep coach at Avon Farms, 800 wins, 49th year at that. Jason's wife, Kate, one of his very good friends from Avon Farms that he grew up with, Kyle Wallach, who's been a long-time Division I assistant and Division III head coach at Albertus Magnus, Billy Maniscalco, who's here at Yale, who's a childhood friend, and John Gardner's wife. So it's just, and we have a financial advisor and an accountant that help us out as well. So it's a really good group. We have a lot of, we get together once or twice a year, have a dinner, and tell stories and see where we're going. So it's a group all with a lot of, personal stake as to who Jason Pagni was.
Yeah, that's awesome. That really is. So you guys have got a huge night coming up December 1st. There's going to be a game at Avon Old Farms. It's going to be between AIC and Sacred Heart. So tell us something about that, because there's a lot going on with it.
Wow. This is the Craft Hockeyville of college hockey, and the stars really aligned this year. We talked about we did a great fundraiser at Sacred Heart's brand new rink as part of a game last year, and there were dates that were floated around, and Sacred Heart, Eric Lang at AIC, was really one of the great coaches in college hockey. It was a Connecticut resident. We talked about it, and they agreed, AIC, to move the home game to make this happen. And the stars really aligned. There was a perfect night. It was a perfect day to move the game from Springfield to Avon. And Avon Old Farms was just tremendously enthusiastic about it, for not just the hockey program, but the entire school. It goes all the way up to the headmaster of the school. I mean, Avon's a lot more than just a hockey program. So it just really aligned, and to get a game, a Division I game in a prep school setting with everybody on board is a throwback, and it just doesn't happen very often. And as part of it, we're the beneficiaries. We run the game from soup to nuts. Atlantic Hockey approved everything. It's just going to be hopefully something people are going to who are going to be there are going to talk about for a very long time.
Yeah, I tell you, I wish I could be there, because that sounds so amazing. And it's not just the game. You guys have, I've been looking through your X account here, and you got some amazing raffle items coming in.
Well, again, a lot of them are thanks to friends of Jason Pagni and families. I mean, we've got silent, we can announce tonight that Ryan Martin, who's the assistant GM of the Rangers, is a classmate of Jason Pagni's at Avon Old Farms on top of it, and he's their behind-the-scenes guy, also runs the Hartford Wolfpack. He's arranged to get 2 of Chris Drury's tickets plus a surprise jersey. Kevin Shattenkirk, who you've heard legendary stories, one of the really just the finest people you ever meet. He's what he calls the Shatty Pack, which is a jersey, 2 tickets to a Bruins game, plus a neat little twist where you get to meet and greet Kevin post-game.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's just, they throw twists, and we've got stuff coming in from Dallas. Trevor Zegers' family Trevor was coached by Jason. His family's going to be at the game donating a jersey, and it's going to be gift cards, college hockey tickets. We're going to do something with, we have a crystal with one of the college teams where you get to spend 4 tickets to a game. You get to go to pregame video. So the going to be a golf foursome, but there's also going to be raffles and all kinds of neat stuff that they're from friends and people who have been really kind to us. And again, we're grateful, so grateful that we've had the support, and it just speaks to people just keep saying yes, and that's kind of a neat thing, And again, going to Avon, the place Jason Pagni loves so much, the campus is like, can you believe it? Students are like, can you believe we've got an NCAA game on campus?
That's amazing. That really is. And I hate to do this to you, but you kind of cut out when you were talking about the last raffle item. So if you could repeat that.
Did you get the Shattenkirk one?
Yep, we got the Shattenkirk one, and then you started talking about another one, and the connection kind of
Trevor Zegers' jersey.
Oh, okay.
Trevor spent a couple of years at Avon before going to the national program, and again, Avon's just influenced guys like Spencer Knight, Trevor Zegers, Nick Bonino. These are all Avon Old Farms guys who remain very close to the school and the program because they do so many things the right way. And, they're coming off a New England title, and they just produce really again, I can't say enough about they're giving up their time and space, and AIC especially, to move a home game.
Sure.
It's, you You got to have people that want to do it. And, it just, it's just kind of, sometimes I sit, and sometimes we say, wow, this is going to happen in 2.5 weeks. And again, I can't, speaking of Central New York, I just want to give a shout out to retired Coach Don Vaughn, who's always been very kind to us, and knew Jason as well.
Absolutely. Coach Vaughn's a great guy. I saw him the other night. I was down there covering the Harvard game Friday night, and it was the banner raising, and they honored Coach Vaughn, and I ran into him after the game and said hi. And what a fantastic person he really is. I mean, it's just amazing.
Well, as an alum, he ran the program the right way. There was a consistency that, as you get a little older, you appreciate. There was a certain standard. There was an ethical standard to the program. He graduated kids, and he certainly was justly rewarded last year.
Absolutely. Just a fairy tale ending. Finally get that ECAC championship, and it's just amazing. It's an awesome story.
Well, there weren't a lot of unhappy people to see them run the table against Quinnipiac and Harvard.
No.
That's another. But there was a lot of. I don't know if I broke my hand banging my fist after the game, so it was great. Just happy, for that, and to see, see Don go out the right way. It was really just so cool.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I know you can't see the video right now, but we got a picture of the ticket up there right now, the one that you sent me there. And this is just a great thing. I know I'd asked you before, was there any possibility of that auction being online?
We're considering it right now. The priority is to the attendees, and we're really, again, it's a timing and a volunteer issue, but if we do, we'll certainly let you know.
Please do.
But if there are any inquiries, you can certainly DM our X account. I mean, we're certainly open to opening bids and, stuff like that. And, we're just very fortunate for the support, but follow the X account, because usually gets, giving you a couple of answers. There's just going to be more surprises. And, the key to this night too is the youth hockey support has been incredible. It's going to be a largely youth hockey crowd to this game. One program's bought 150 tickets.
Wow.
So another program's bought, Mid Fairfield, which is Lower Fairfield, they're bringing 50 to the game. So it's a real grassroots effort to attract and have the youth hockey community understand, what we're working to accomplish in Jason's memory.
Yeah, and you can follow your account on X at CT Hockey FDN. And I'll put that in the liner notes for the show and all that, because it really is a great follow. And just out of curiosity, how many people does that rink hold?
We're probably close to 700, and we've got, between all the tickets right now, we've got over 570 accounted for.
Wow, very nice. It's going to be a solid.
So
That's awesome.
We were never concerned about that. It's just, and again, it's kind of if you ever see the craft hockey, it's a throwback game. It's a throwback in a prep school setting, and the other thing I got to give the players and the coaches credit, because they've been jumping on board. I mean, talking to some of the players about it, they're like, we're real excited to play a game in a prep rink.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that, like you said, that whole throwback back to the roots. When you're not playing in huge arenas, there's something that you just can't be said for playing in those intimate rinks where everything's right on top of you. It's just, there's no other feeling like it.
Well, it's it's coffee, hot chocolate. It's not the beer gardens. It's not the high technology, but it's again, it's something that brings good memories, and we attendees get certain favors, and we want to make sure that we're going to give those phone back. The little things you put on your back of your phone for credit cards and all that.
Okay.
Most of the people who get in the building, if they want, we're going to get one as a cop for us as a thank you for coming to us. It's just, so we've got to, you really accommodate and, take care of those you really care about, so.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's fantastic. And, even obviously everybody's going to walk away from that game extremely happy because it just sounds like a fantastic event your organization has planned. So any future games planned?
Right now to be determined, a lot of this is timing. We may go back to virtual programming. As you guys know, we had a couple of years ago, we had a really unique during the COVID pandemic with Pete DeBoer and Steve Spott, who's a Colgate classmate of mine, doing an hour and a half of Inside the NHL, and that was a great thing. We may go back to that. We've had Paul D'Amato, Dr. Hook, but we try and do things that are unique. We want people to come in and say, hey, Paul D'Amato, he's not. I just want to shout out to him. I hope he's doing well. He's had some health challenges, but for Dr. Hook to come down and talk about Slapshot for a couple of hours, he had and talk about his acting career for 2 hours. He had about 80 people captivated. It was just, it was more than hockey. And so we try and do little things out of the box, and hopefully we'll get to do that. I mean, in the future. But this will be, I think this will be our most successful night. It's going to just allow us to do things technology-wise, and it's just we want to make sure that the money goes to where it needs to go.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, anything that you guys do, please let us know, and I will promote everything that you guys do because it is such a fantastic cause, and I want to help out any way we can.
Well, you guys have been fantastic. You were kind enough to jump on this, originally, and it was, to our group, it was very meaningful, both professionally and personally. So maybe the good news is it's really started at Colgate for me. You just never know. Life is not a linear path, as you guys know.
No, not at all. And there's always twists and turns, but as everybody, as Pags like to say, everybody rides, right?
Well, that's on the ticket. That was one of Jason's favorite expressions, and that's why we hashtagged it on the back of the ticket. And that was, people have complimented. We want to go to the game just to, have a souvenir. It was a neat twist, and he had a lot of Pagniisms, and Nero still sits every time I see the Nero truck, who's an air conditioning company locally. It always talks at you.
And I didn't know it until I actually met you and started talking to you that Jonathan Quick had Everybody Rides on the back of his helmet during the 2014 Stanley Cup run. So just awesome, awesome connection.
Well, and Kevin Shattenkirk was all, unfortunately Jason passed. He was all over from a Twitter standpoint, and the Shattenkirk story that really just blows me away is we were gathering for to put the first game together in the late summer, and there was a pro skate down in Fairfield County, and it was run by a couple of agents, and Kevin's one of their clients, and we talked afterwards for a good 15, 20 minutes, and it was just a very comfortable, bright, thoughtful young guy, and he was playing in St. Louis at the time, and I said, at the end of the conversation, I said, Kevin, can't thank you enough for your time, and he looked at me without a blink. He said, no, thanks for finding me. And I was like, we got to keep this guy.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a keeper for sure.
Yeah, he's just he's a guy, once you get to our age, it's not about teams, it's about the friends. And, Kevin's been extraordinary to us.
Yeah, absolutely. What a fantastic man, really. Eric, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on and talk to us. I'd originally told you 15 minutes while we held you for half an hour. So
trouble.
You got to charge us time and a half now.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions, but feel free to follow us at CT Hockey Foundation. Again, we live in, and it's going to be a scramble toward the end, but we're looking forward to, what will be a very, we think it's going to be, and again, it's a cliche that you use the word special, but this will be special.
I do have a question real quick before you go. So will a replay of that game be available online anywhere?
The Atlantic League's going to have something. I don't know how they video or what the crew's going to be, but the game does feature a pregame ceremony for about 10 minutes. And let me guess, it's going to talk. It's, I have to make a few remarks, and I don't know if I'm going to get through it. I really
Yeah.
don't. I told my wife that a couple of days ago, and it's going to be a real. I'll give people a hint, and it'll be similar to the old Montreal Canadiens, the torches pass, where we will involve the varsity team of Avon Old Farms, and because Jason played for them, played at Merrimack, and with their, so it's to the Brave Souls or something like that, and we're just, we're privileged. So I don't know, but I can keep you posted. I will contact Atlantic Hockey because their commissioner and deputy are going to be in the game. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Please let us know because I at least love to be able to watch. And again, like I said, Eric, anything we can do to help you guys out, please just say the word.
It's your kindness has really been appreciated, and it's just good to have you guys in the background. Certainly you can throw missiles at me anytime, and we may deflect them, but it's something we do because we love Jason, but it's also a way to reminisce, and honestly, we do have some fun too. We have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to see parents of the Quick parents and the Zegers parents come to the game, and it's like, what can we do for you? I'm like, just come to the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be, sometimes the legal expression is less is more.
Sure. There you go.
So,
and who would know about better than you, right?
that depends on who you talk to.
Oh, they have a little fun with you. But again, Eric, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And, like I said, December 1st, huge night. Hopefully we'll be able to watch it. And, best of luck for the foundation for the future and everything you do. And please keep us posted.
Okay. And thanks for everything you do in CNY. And, I know all the hard work you guys put into it. It's a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of passion for the big bucks, as you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, where it's at.
Yeah, the 12th of never.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Well, I'll let you get to the airport, but I will be in touch, and we'll just keep talking.
Okay, thanks for the time, guys.
All right, thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. All right, Eric Opin, Executive Director of the Connecticut Hockey Foundation. Yeah, Jordy, like I said, when I put that article together, I was like, man, I'm just blown away. The thing is, like with the hockey world, and I'm sure, obviously other sports worlds, when something like that happens, everybody just seems to come together, come to each other's aid. And it's fantastic to see them carrying this on still. And I tell you, I wish I could be out there for that game because that sounds like such a good time,
Yeah, it really does. And the hockey especially is a very small community. And, I mean, you hear stories every day of connections to everybody.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt. All right, my friend, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, and then we got a lot of hockey to talk about when we come back in segment 2. So everybody get a glass of water, take a deep breath, because we got a ton to talk about. We'll see you in a minute.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city and the area. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of the Mohawk Valley. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, our event calendar, and print publication, the Mohawk Valley Express. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of locals and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store, listen to our podcast, or sign up for our weekly email newsletter. Stop by today. You'll be glad you did.
All right, we are back for segment 2. And Jordy, guess what? If we have a ton of hockey in Central New York as it is, and we got even more coming this weekend. The Hamilton College Continentals, the men's and women's teams both open up their seasons. The men start Friday night up there at Russell Sage Rink up on College Hill in Clinton. They are hosting NESCAC rival Amherst, the Amherst Mammoths, which I think is actually a pretty cool name too. And then on Saturday night, they will be facing the Canton Roos. So that's another pretty cool name as well. I'll tell you though, there's got to be some excitement around this team, this men's team, because they had a really good season last year. They finished, I think it was 13-10-2. And you know what? I wrote an article about a couple months ago about their recruiting class that they brought in, and it's the number 2 ranked recruiting class by neutralzone.net in all of D3. So, Coach Haberbush and his staff did a fantastic job. So really, it kind of looks like this team's on the rise.
Yeah, and you hear that recruiting class number, and looking at class around here, you don't think of it that's a great class, like really great compared to everybody else until somebody says it. I mean, all our fan bases have their looks into it and everything, but you don't truly realize it until somebody stacks it up and says, this is how the outside the fan base sees it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to be having an article up on CNYHockeyReport.com tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning. We're going to be looking at that schedule for the Hamilton College Continentals men's team. Pretty interesting. I'm just about done with the article, but you have to wait till tomorrow morning to see it. Yeah, I can see you're like, oh yeah, great. But it's going to be a great article, so check it out. The women, I'll tell you what, they're coming in ranked 5th in Division III after the fantastic season they had. A little bit of upheaval. Coach McNamara is now back with Middlebury as an assistant. Her longtime assistant, Kate Holtz, took over behind the bench there for Hamilton. They opened their season Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon, again up there at Russell Sage Rink, by hosting the second-ranked Amherst Mammoths, the women. Boy, I tell you, talk about starting off the season with a bang, huh? Man, you got to face a number 2 team in the nation right off the hop.
Yeah, and that's always tough. I mean, we see it locally with Utica and some of these other teams that you start off with these heavy hitters, and it's hard. It's hard for both teams, and especially coming in so early with those preseason rankings, you never know what can happen, and there's chaos everywhere at all times.
Yeah, there is. But, we talked about this, like you just mentioned with Utica. It's actually a good thing, though, to play that good competition early, because I think it really kind of puts your team to the metal, and there's nothing wrong with that by, giving them that really good competition early and getting them up and running, because, sometimes if you load up your early schedule with teams, games that you really should win, I tend to think sometimes that lulls a team into like a false sense of security, right? And then the next thing you know, you're playing a team that's on your level, and it's a lot more difficult because you haven't been really playing that kind of competition right up until then.
Yeah, you always need that kind of benchmark to see, and that's where usually having it evenly spread of competition among a season works out, but that's with a lot of schedules you can't necessarily get that, especially if you're stacked with a lot more teams than you should in your conference, like the UCHC is, then it's hard to do that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, I found out something interesting, too, while I was putting this article together. Sage Rink is going to be undergoing renovations. They're in phase 1, or I think they just finished phase 1. I'm going to pull this up real quick. It's pretty cool what they're planning. Everybody knows, Sage Rink was built, I think it was 1921, and one of the oldest rinks in the country, actually. And they've got it up on their website, athletics.hamilton.edu, and entirely planned out for new locker rooms, office, arena renovation, new seating. They're talking about like a couple of box seats kind of thing. Really, really interesting. So, I think we're gonna have to get somebody from Hamilton on to talk about that, because, like I said, that's really cool. Moving right along, let's go to the Colgate Raiders, since we just had Eric. We'll talk about Colgate. The number 3 Colgate women, they're 11-1-0. They are on an absolute roll right now. But this weekend, the competition gets a little tough because Friday night they are hosting number 14 Princeton. And then on Saturday afternoon, number 9, Quinnipiac comes to town. Quinnipiac, who has Mia Lapata, Clinton, your native. Speaking of Clinton, Hamilton College. So I tied that all together.
Yeah, segue.
Okay. Anyways, like I said, it's going to be a stiff challenge this weekend for the Raiders. But the way they've been playing lately, I'll tell you, Jordy, they looked good last year as a team. They look even better this year.
Yeah, and especially coming off the wins against Dartmouth and Harvard, you walk in, you hit two teams like that hard, and you walk out, you kind of get confident, especially since those were on the road, and you just walk in and basically own the place.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. It's not like they've been playing an easy schedule anyway. I mean, they opened up the season against number 2 Ohio State, who that's their only loss of the season. They split that series. It was 2 games down there at the class of 1965 arena. Then they beat number 11 Penn State in 2 games. They beat Yale. They were number 6 at the time. That game, I tell you, they made that one look easy. It was really impressive. So, again, tough competition this weekend. It gets tougher. It gets just as tough next weekend. They go out to Minnesota Duluth around Thanksgiving. They're going to take a trip out there. I think Minnesota Duluth's number 7, I believe. I got to look it up. But anyways, again, if you're interested in women's hockey, head down to the class of 1965 arena this Friday night or Saturday afternoon if you want to see a local hockey hero, Mia Lapata, making her return with the Quinnipiac Bobcats. Moving right over to the men. The men, now this is kind of cool. I like how they do this, right? So the women are hosting Princeton and Quinnipiac, right? Friday night, the men go to Princeton, and then Saturday night, they go to Quinnipiac, who's number 7. Quinnipiac's going to be looking for some revenge, considering the last time they played, the Raiders eliminated them out of the ECAC tournament.
Yeah, and you look at it, they're coming off a kind of rough weekend where they saw a tie with a shootout win and a loss. So it's partially.
Uh-oh. He froze. It must have got cold up there.
It got cold in the dorm room.
I guess
a rough weekend, but it was a tough weekend.
Okay. Well, I have to be honest with you. We just missed about 3/4 of what you said because you froze up. So me and Dave were making fun of it.
I knew it was coming. It was going to freeze up.
Dave said to turn the heat on in your dorm room, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, that'll be another good challenge for the Raiders early in the season, and best of luck to them. Let's switch gears here. Let's go to the Utica Pioneers. So the men's team, the number 4 Utica Pioneers, who actually received 3 first-place votes in this latest USCHO poll. I'll tell you, that poll has been insane all year long. Just so much movement up and down. They go to Wilkes this weekend. So they're at Wilkes Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. And I've got an announcement to make. We are going to actually have somebody there covering those games for us. So Tommy Berry, who does some of our Utica Comets previews, stuff like that, his brother goes to Wilkes. So he's like, hey, he goes, since I'm going to go down to the games,
Nice.
I go, well, hey, guess what, buddy? You want to do some coverage? So sure enough, he's going to go down there. He's going to cover both games for us. He's going to write a preview of the series. So, thank you, Tommy Berry. That's awesome. It's going to be really cool having somebody in person on the road covering them too.
You got a hat?
He does. I sent him a hat.
You better have a hat.
I sent him a hat. Don't you worry.
Yeah. All right. Just checking.
So, Jordan, your thoughts on the Pioneers?
So I did a lot of stat looking this week, and obviously the goalie stats are their own thing. There's not much to see there. We already know what we got. But one thing that stuck out to me was Jacob Brolt is leading the team in goals, assists, points, and he's kind of flown under the radar with it because, you see him score one game or another game, and he's one of those guys to me that I've been so focused on the freshman. I didn't even know he's leading in those categories, and he's playing really good now that I look back.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It's just like that under the radar. You would never guess it if you didn't really look.
Yeah, and between that and how good Herrera's doing, and I still don't fully understand why they pulled Herrera from the second Chatham game, one of the 2 Chatham games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that move because he's second in goals and third in points, but what are you going to do? It's Gary. Well, Gary probably knows more than I do.
He might have been a little sick or something like that too. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Chatham, that's where they were last weekend. Won both of those games, 6-2 and 7-3 down there in Pittsburgh. That was an interesting setup in that rink they have there too. Did you see any of that online?
I saw a little bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It looks like it's right directly on the street. It's kind of cool. So
yeah.
So All right, let's talk about the women a little bit. The women, they're now number 9 in the country. They are going to Manhattanville for 2 games this weekend, Friday night and Saturday afternoon. And you're going to love I just think this is so cool. The Manhattanville Valiants play at the Playland Ice Casino. I would love to know how they came up with that name.
Yeah. I still don't like Manhattanville that much.
Well, no, I'm not saying the team. I'm just saying that, the name of the arena. I mean, Playland Ice Casino is probably not the first thing that would come to mind if I was trying to name a rink.
It's not the 50th thing that would come to my mind.
Probably not. But UCHC battle, always tough. And, speaking of always tough conference battles, I mean, last weekend, Friday night, Wilkes gave the Women Pioneers all they wanted. That ended up a 0-0 tie. Utica, of course, won the shootout to get the extra point to UCHC. The next afternoon on Saturday, the Pioneers went, you ain't doing that to us again. No way. They won 7-1. So they look like the Pioneers we've gotten used to. But I'll tell you, Jordy, the Women Pioneers are 5-0-1, 3-0-1 in the conference. They've got to, they got to win over a ranked team now. Still looking pretty good.
Yeah, and you look at how they're playing, and they remind me of the men's team. They wear teams down.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you started to freeze again, by the way, there too. So
yeah,
me and Dave are getting ready for it.
But his voice was coming through. So
yeah, so that's all.
Yep.
That's all. And, when they get done with Manhattanville, they actually do have a special Tuesday night game. On the 21st, it's going to be at the Nexus Center. Start time of 7:00. They are facing the Worcester State Lancers. So I believe they played them last year, and I think they won too. I think that was a Tuesday night game too, as I recall. But yeah, so they got that little, normally they don't play Tuesday nights, but we got that little, I think it's because of the Thanksgiving holiday coming up and all that. You're going to see a lot more of those Tuesday night games coming too. So yeah, interesting. 3 games in 5 days. So Coach Clausen's team's going to have some skating legs underneath them.
Yeah, a lot of work.
No doubt about it. And before we flip over to the AHL, I just want to mention quick Morrisville. The Morrisville men, they lost to Fredonia. We're recording Thursday night, so it'll be last night on Wednesday night. They traveled to Buffalo State Saturday night, and then they play a Tuesday night game at a Tuesday afternoon game at 4:00 at the Morrisville Iceplex versus Arcadia. So
yeah, that's going to be interesting. I mean, Arcadia's definitely seen a step up in talent, and I got a friend who's over in Morrisville that I text every game. I'll usually watch, and they'll be in rink, and we'll be like comparing notes. So that'll be an interesting one because we're very familiar with Arcadia.
Yeah, and Arcadia, I think, could be one of those teams that can fly under the radar.
Yeah, especially
don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them. The women's team. So let's see. They are going to Buffalo State this Friday night. See how the program's go in tandem. It's so cool. And then they're playing a Tuesday night game at Hamilton College, and it's actually a Tuesday afternoon game, 1:00. I think I'm going to go up there and cover that, actually. They're playing the number 5 Hamilton College Continentals. And then they play the next day, Wednesday, at home versus a team that Utica fans are familiar with, Stevenson. Stevenson is coming to the Morrisville Iceplex. So, again, it's a condensed schedule, but again, because of the holiday, you almost have to get your games in. That Wednesday game would be interesting because both teams wear green and white. Yeah,
that'll be interesting, and I want to see how they shake up unis, how those look, compared to each other.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. So, all right, what do you say? Let's talk about the AHL. How's that sound? Let me get my AHL thinking cap on here, and what do you want to start with? You make the call. Crunch or the Comets?
We start with the Crunch.
Start with the Crunch. All right, I like it. So the Crunch this weekend, they have a home against the Hartford Wolfpack. Friday night they are home in Syracuse, and then Saturday night they travel to the insurance city known as Hartford, Connecticut. Hartford's been doing really well this year. I think they're second place in the Atlantic Division. Tough team. We saw them in Utica last weekend, and very, very tough. The Crunch actually played a home against an Atlantic Division opponent last weekend too, in the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Say that 5 times fast. Now, and again, they were in Syracuse Friday night. Saturday night they went back down to Wilkes-Barre Scranton, Friday night, you got to say that game against Wilkes-Barre, it was probably their worst performance of the year. They got shut out at home 4-0. But to their credit, they put it all behind them and they turned around and they blew the doors off Wilkes-Barre Scranton the next night, or next afternoon, I should say, 6-3 down there. They took the flightless birds down. Hugo Olnefeld actually missed that game. I think he was sick. So they ended up going with their backup, Brandon Helverson. Now the Kochekhov's back up in Carolina for the foreseeable future anyway. And then they signed Vinny Purpura, goaltender, to a tryout. He was with Adirondack Thunder of the ECHL, who was actually the Utica Comets ECHL team. So it's kind of funny how that works. But I think Purpura, if he's not back at Adirondack already, he will be soon. But, in between all that, the Crunch actually played a Tuesday morning game, which is pretty cool, actually. So it was down in Bridgeport, Connecticut. They played the Bridgeport Islanders, and it was the school day game. So some of these teams in the league do these, what they're called school day games, where the school districts in the city that they play in, the kids get to go to the game for a field trip.
That's cool.
So, you know what? I think that's a really, really nice thing that teams do, because you think about it, you're probably giving up a little bit of revenue, right? Because, it's a Tuesday morning game. A lot of school kids will be there, but, a lot of adults will be at work, not going to be able to go. But, hey, you know what, though? To do that for the kids is fantastic. Good on Bridgeport. I'd love to see something like that. I think the Crunch actually do one this year, too. I have to look at the schedule. But, yeah, that's a fantastic thing. And, by the way, Syracuse did win that game 5-4. So, school day game, they probably disappointed the Bridgeport fans, but hey, you know what? It's at least they didn't have to go to school that day. They got to go to a game. So
yeah, at least it was entertaining.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and now let's go over to the Utica Comets. The Comets Friday night, they are at Springfield, the Thunderbirds, and then Saturday night they're home for Laval. I've been out there to Springfield. That's a great place to go see a game.
Yeah, and I don't know what to expect. I'm not researched up on Springfield this year like I normally am researched up with certain AHL teams, but the Comets are dealing with a little up and down, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at Springfield's numbers right now. They're fourth place in the Atlantic Division. They have a record of 7-7-1. All right. They have scored 44 goals and given up 45. So if you want to talk about just about an even keel as a team as you can find, it's the Springfield Thunderbirds. And looking at the standings here, the Crunch are actually in first place now. They're in first place. Good on them. It's a three-way tie at the top between the Crunch, the Toronto Marlies, and the Rochester Americans. All of them have 16 points. Crunch are leading the division, however. The Comets right now, they're in seventh place, which is last in the North Division, but they have 10 points, so they're 6 points out of first place. So that kind of tells you how tight that division is. And the Comets have more games in hand than anybody else in that division because they haven't played as much. So this Saturday night game against Laval is actually huge because Laval is in sixth place. Obviously, a win, leapfrogs them so long as they don't lose ground against Springfield. And, obviously it's really, really way too early to start thinking about playoff spots and all of that. But you also don't want to start losing ground here.
Yeah, and especially with how competitive this conference has been recently, and with the worry of anyone can go up at any time, especially right now with this team. Plus, the Devils have a history of goalie injuries, a long history. So there's always that question.
I know. You know what? They should run like some kind of a lottery. People get to draw a name. Okay, who's going to be the goalie injury this week? Oh, yeah. You win free tickets to the Prudential Center. Speaking of goalies, though, Nico Dawes got to be a couple weeks away. He's been on the ice, working out. So, that'll help stabilize things in that a little bit. But I'll tell you, Isaac Poulter has done one heck of a job coming in and really stabilizing that Utica net. Eric Shalgren's just off to a tough start this year. Not the start that he wanted, obviously, but Isaac Poulter picked up the pieces and said, no, you can count on me. So it's he's in top 10 in all major categories in goaltending in the league. And nice story. Really nice story. A nice guy, too.
Yeah, you watch him play, and coming out of the gates, I even said I looked at their games, and I said I kind of like what Poulter's showing just mechanically, and that's kind of played out so far. I mean, you watch Sjögren play the Wolfpack, and the Wolfpack are a traditionally East Coast team. They play heavy, they play hard. He couldn't handle that East Coast game, and I watched it and I said Poulter would have looked a little better.
Yeah. And I mean, let's not forget Poulter did get a handful of games with the Comets last year, so he got a little bit of AHL experience. But I mean, he's really just taken it and run this year. I mean, to be honest with you, let's be honest. He was expected to be in the ECHL this year, and it almost kind of reminds me of that whole situation from a couple of years ago, where it was supposed to be either Akira Schmidt or Nico Dawes that was going to be down with the Thunder, if you recall, and they both stayed up and they both became tremendously successful in the AHL. So I kind of see that same trajectory for Poulter.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes that he was with the big club till pretty much the final round of cuts for goalies.
Yeah.
So that tells me that New Jersey probably liked what they saw.
Sure. Absolutely. And you know what? Utica fans are liking what they see too. So that's
especially right now.
Absolutely. All right, my friend. Well, I'm just about out of breath from all this talking I've been doing here. This has just been a fun show, though. You got anything coming up on your socials or your YouTube channel?
Well, I got my combat videos finally finished. I had to do a lot of switching and throwing things around because I have to be a perfectionist with those. So I have it time to release at 7:30.
Nice. Tonight?
Yeah, tonight.
All right.
To overlook everything.
Beautiful. Dave, if you want to throw that banner across the bottom one more time, there it is right there for the Connecticut Hockey Foundation, their X account. That's it's at CT Hockey FDN. And then
FON.
FDN.
FDN, you sure?
Yeah.
Positive?
Yep. I'm going to look at it right now. Yep. FDN.
All right.
Oh, anyways,
maybe we want to fix that.
Well,
Hey, I didn't have the technical issue this time.
Yeah, no, right?
It's not technical.
Jordan, now you
spelling is not technical.
Now you can, Dave.
It's about the little things, okay?
That's right. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Oh, so yeah, there you go. And we're gonna have that, of course, in the liner notes for the show as well. So yeah, if you get a chance,
I was gonna say it. I loved.
I know. I was beating you.
You beat
poor
me too.
Jeremy's not even here to defend himself. That's
I wish he was, but this is fun.
We'll know if he's watching. If that door gets kicked in and it's Jeremy coming through the door,
he'll show up to my room in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Also, the screen goes blank.
Yes, my connection will cut.
Yeah. That's great. That is awesome. All right, guys. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I want to thank Eric Opin once again for coming on and talking about the Connecticut Hockey Foundation and that awesome game they got coming up. If there's any way you can support or just follow them on X, do it because it's a great cause. And Jordy, of course, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on and enjoy having you, of course, as always. And naturally, Dave the Save, thank you for all you do.
You're welcome.
Including just banged his
I banged my head on the darn.
microphone. Was awesome.
Like, yeah, I know.
All right, everybody. And of course, we want to thank you for watching and listening to our show, supporting us. Of course, check out cnhockeyreport.com every day for daily updates on what's going on in the world of Central New York hockey. And of course, follow us on all the socials, X, Facebook, whatever. So thank you for listening. We will see you next week on the Central New York Hockey Report podcast.